Okay, welcome back, everyone. So for our second presentation this morning, I'm happy to introduce Sam Rabin, who's a software engineer in CGD here at NCAR. Sam will be demoing VSCode. VSCode is an integrated development environment. It's basically a really cool place to code, make things happen with nice integration with Copilot and other tools. This is not, strictly speaking, a practicum, so we won't necessarily have checkpoints and be walking around and talking. But this is a good opportunity if you'd like to download VS Code to your computer, and you can maybe work through some of the things that Sam is talking about. So thanks a lot, Sam.
All right. The volume okay? Everything sound good? All right, I'll proceed as if it is. Yeah, like Dan said, this is not really a practicum. If you want to download and try and follow along, feel free. If there's time after I'm done and after normal Q&A, then I can walk around and do some troubleshooting if y'all want. But primarily, this is just me sort of showing off some of the features of VS Code and why you might want to use it. Right, so Dan said it is an integrated development environment, and so this is what it usually looks like when I'm working in Fortran. I should say VS stands for Visual Studio. Visual Studio itself is a separate product that costs money and does a lot of different things. But VS Code is free to download. A ton of the extensions are free, and you can really make it your own. So it's a text editor at its heart, but an integrated development environment if you want it to be. What that means is you can do a whole lot of things with it, right? It's integrated. It's not just a place where you can go and edit your code and save it. You can also run terminal commands. You can also have applications that do extra stuff on top of what you would type in. So like things that support cleaning up your code based on formatting rules, or highlight errors when you type them in, that sort of thing. So yeah, it can be whatever you want it to be. Does anyone here use VS Code right now? What do you use it for?
Mostly as a text editor.
Mostly as a text editor. That's fair. That's fair. Anyone else? Sure.
I think everyone should use VS Code. It like changed my life.
I agree. I try not to over-visualize, but yeah, I'm not wrong. One more. What kind of use case do we have? Sure.
I would say being able to go to definitions and references for subroutines is really, really helpful.
That's great, for sure. Throughout this presentation, I've included links. Obviously, you can't see what the URL is, but we'll make this available afterwards for you to, or maybe it's already available.
It is, yes, linked on the agenda.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So you should all have view access to it and be able to click on these links. Most, if not all, of these links will go to either the VS Code documentation or the VS Code marketplace. And I'll talk about the marketplace shortly. So yeah, the VS Code documentation is really comprehensive. I'm always happy to see that it's like the first result when I say, like, how do I design VS or set up VS Code for Python? Like, there's a ton of material there, and even more obscure languages and use cases as well. So I'll just demonstrate a couple of the very basics of VS Code. When you first download it and open it, it'll look something like this. This is the sort of welcome splash screen. You can see I've obviously had it available for a while, so it's got all these recents in it, but it's got some walkthrough stuff as well. I'm going to go ahead and open a folder. The text size okay for everybody? Okay. Go to my Git repositories. Open. Sorry, I have a broken finger, so I'm a little bit slower than usual. CTSN my fork. I'm going to open that. Right. So when you first open a folder, also referred to as a project, you might see something like this. I can click in to some of the to one of the pieces of code in here. So let's say, no, that's documentation. Stores. We'll go to the Fates Beast Dress mod. So this is Fortran code. It's a .f90 file. You can see there's this mini map on the right-hand side, which is sometimes useful for being able to keep track of where you are in a document. You can click on it easily. If I make this window narrower, this view narrower, you can see it doesn't really wrap the text. Well, VS Code has a ton of options for personalization. So I'm just going to press the Mac keyboard shortcut for opening settings. It just opens the settings in a new tab. And I can say, all right, what if I want to wrap my text? Yeah, editor word wrap. Control side line should wrap. Let's just say on. And so now we can go back. You can see that it wraps. So I can always see all the text that's in there. If you want a faster way to do it, VS Code has a super powerful feature called the command palette, where on Mac it's Command Shift P, and I think on Windows and Linux it's Control Shift P. And this basically lets you access anything in VS Code. So I could just say wrap, and it'll toggle it back off. That's pretty neat. The settings are a little bit more complicated than you're probably used to. I mean, first of all, there's just a ton of them. But second of all, there are different scopes of your settings. So here, this is my user setting. So basically, whenever I use VS Code on my computer, or really anywhere, it's going to use these settings, unless I say, for this workspace, I want to do something different. So that's pretty neat, and that's pretty nice if you have sort of a default set of settings that you want to use. But sometimes when you're opening, some code base that you regularly work on, you need different settings. It can be nice. One thing that helps kind of visually distinguish the different workspaces that you have open is theming. So you might go to Workspace, search for theme. VS Code has a lot of themes built in. This is the Dark Visual Studio, the default one, but I don't really like dark mode in most cases. And so usually I use light modern. And you can see, obviously, that changes things. And again, of course, you can change the color theme with the command palette. And actually, as you scroll through, it'll change dynamically. So you can preview it, which is pretty cool. You can add custom keyboard shortcuts to pretty much anything. So if we go back to wrap, all right, you got to do it in here, settings, keyboard shortcuts, and I can say wrap. All right, Option Z, that's not what I'm used to because I have it set differently in a different application. So I can just say, Command Shift R, and it tells me one existing command has this key binding. So I will just all right, well, there's a way to clear it that I've forgotten. So live demos, always risky. Remove key binding, there it is. Why didn't that show up before? Okay, so now I can do wrap, say Command Shift R. And so now I can do that easily. And again, those settings can be at your, so I've just done that for the workspace level, I think, but you can also have those for the user level. And then one extra cool thing is side-by-side editing. So let's say I'm working on this this file, but I also want to open this Hydro WTF mod. I can just command, what I did was command, and then I clicked on Hydro WTF mod, or double-clicked on it. And it opened it in another column. And you can really get wacky with this. You can say, all right, I want to open a pane, move panel to the left. So here I'm actually changing where the terminal is, which makes things a little bit wild. Move panel top. Puts it back up there, panel bottom. You can open up different, so you can do it in column mode. I can say, all right, I want settings over here on there. And so now I've got it split like 3 ways. You can really get wild if you have a huge monitor and you want to arrange things that way. But yeah, that's useful if you're working on 2 things at a time and they're You can also work on two separate parts of the same document using these panel splitting. I should also say, I don't think I have an hour of content. So if you have questions or you want me to repeat something or slow it down, please do. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You can use this like on a remote system, right?
Yeah, so that's,
Awesome.
yeah, I'll be demonstrating that shortly. Cool. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions about what I've shown so far?
Can you
Sure.
switch on syntax highlighting?
I can't in this one because this is my bare just installed VSCode. But actually, syntax highlighting is built in for Python by default, so I can show that. So syntax highlighting also super useful. So anything if you're not colorblind, I realize that for colorblind people, sometimes it can actually make things harder. But for me, at least, I like syntax highlighting because I can say, all right, any doc strings are in red. Special Python words are in this sort of fuchsia color. Regular comments are in green. Also got, things like that. And it can be nice if you're saying, okay, I meant to type if, but I actually said if the, and when I misspell it, it doesn't get a nice fuchsia highlight. So I know something went wrong. That's cool. This is GitHub Copilot. So this is a large language model that is basically running every time you type, unless you turn it off. And annoyingly, this comes installed and turned on by default in VSCode. So first thing I do is turn that off. Here in my very, and I'll be demonstrating, I'm not fully against AI, so I'll be demonstrating an AI workflow later.
Sorry, may I ask, how are you able to like create like this different platform for Python, Fortran?
Yeah, so that's the next thing that I'm going to illustrate, which is extensions. So extensions are how you can make VSCode your own beyond what's just built in by default. So these are extensions. These are additional parts of the app that you can download. Sometimes they're made by Microsoft, the VSCode team. Sometimes they're made by third parties. The idea is that it lets you add features, add language support, so like you can add Fortran support, not just syntax highlighting, but also checking for errors, that sort of thing. Debugging, you can integrate third-party services, so GitHub Copilot comes built in, but other systems have their own extensions as well. And they're all downloadable via the VSCode extensions marketplace, which is right here. And this is what the marketplace looks like. So as you might guess, most popular are the sort of Python-based ones. There is a Jupyter Notebook plugin where you can work with your Jupyter Notebook, for instance.
Which people don't seem to like very much.
Jupyter Notebooks in general? Or?
Are just the 2.5-star reviews, that's all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that might be a result of people not liking Jupyter Notebooks. Like power users not liking Jupyter Notebooks, which I have said before. But yeah, it is a little bit janky sometimes. I wouldn't say it's 2 stars. It's 4 stars. So I'll demonstrate a couple of extensions using this.
Which extension do you use for Fortran? Because I just typed it in. There are like so many.
Yeah, I can show you that using this. Here's a profile where I have all the stuff installed for training. Oh, sorry, say installed. And then so I use the modern Fortran. I don't remember what this was supposed to do, but at some point it caused me problems, so I uninstalled it. So I'm not, fully Fortran ID right now. Okay, so going back here, right now, like I said, GitHub Copilot has pre-installed. So this is, you can browse on the web. You can browse the marketplace on the web, you get this interface. Or you can search for extensions in Marketplace from within VSCode. So, for instance, we use SCDF files for a lot of things in our development. And they're binary files, right? They're not text files. So by default, VSCode doesn't know what to do when you click on this. I think it can handle some binary files, like if you click on a JPEG, it'll probably show it to you, but SVF is a weird format. By default, you can't handle that. So Manish didn't like that. And so he wrote an extension called Manish's Fantastic Dump. And all you have to do is just click that install button, install that fast. And now, when I click on this file, it does an nc dump-h, which is the header. So basically all the dimensions, the variables, some global attributes and stuff. When you click on. So that's one useful extension. Another one would be the Fortran extensions that we showed. There's also some fun stuff. So there's VSCode Pets. Or install it. Definitely. We need Pets. So now you can click on that little button. Oh my goodness. It's named James Master for some. From the trash. Cookie, get out of here. So that's just a little bit of fun, but it gives you a sense of like VSCode extensions can really do pretty much anything.
So can you, if you use Python with VSCode, does it recognize countdown environments?
I'll get to that. Great question. Short answer is yes, and you don't even need anything special. Another really useful extension is remote SSH. So this is what you were asking about. Can you work on a different computer? Yes. And specifically, you can work on a different computer using all your own keyboard shortcuts. The application is running on your laptop or whatever. And it's just sending signals and commands up to the server and coming back down, which is nice for me as a Mac user because sometimes you work in something that looks like a graphical user interface, but it's actually running on a Linux server, and then all the keyboard shortcuts are different, and it's annoying. So this is a really, really nice extension. So I'll illustrate again. I'm just going to go to the extensions tab and search for remote SSH. Now it installs. Now I'm just going to say, where do I have installed this? It installs some dependencies that are not required, at least commonly. So now what I do is I open the command palette and I type in connect. And I have this option, remote SSH connect or node host. And here, so I have what's called a .ssh/config file with all these things predefined. So I can connect it to ratio if I wanted, I can connect the password if I wanted, but what this would usually look like is Sam Rabin at ratio.hpc. I think that's correct. Yeah, that's this one. So I'll say setting a host. And so now, if I hit Command O to open something, I'm actually at my home directory on derecho. I can say, cool, why don't you open up this one? And yeah. So right now I'm actually looking at a file that's on derecho. Are y'all using derecho or password for this? Yeah. Cool.
Can you demo this again? How you got it?
Yes. So again, you just do connect. If I connect into the remote SSH or into the command palette, and then, oops, I'm a little sloppy. And then it'll list if you have anything configured in your config file, that, but otherwise you type in your username, at, and then the name of the server you want to connect to. Yeah.
Just for people, if you're setting this up for the first, when you are setting this up for the first time, you might need to include the -y flag in the SSH command, because otherwise it will silently hang for you on the two-factor authentication. Might happen to you, might not happen to you. You clearly have your
Yeah, I've got-
stage config all
I've
set
got
up.
fancy things set up, yeah, so
Yeah.
this isn't a pure vanilla demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, like I said, if there's time after, we can do a little troubleshooting. Oh yeah, and an important part of this is I'm already on the ratio at the moment. Okay, yeah, it is. Show.
Nice question.
Terminal, I'd say I go host, you can see it's ratio 1 slash.
How do you configure for this one for like set telling them how many gigs you want and like how many hours and
So what I just demonstrated was going into a login node.
okay,
And so on a login node, you don't need to say
yeah.
anything about your setup. There are ways to remote SSH into compute nodes. And basically the way is you set up a compute node separately. So like the
Okay.
standard way you would do it in a terminal, and then when you have this screen, then you point it to the compute node. There's also a command called VSCode on password that helps facilitate that process. And I'm not putting it in both. All right. So another useful extension, live preview. This is a beta extension. If you look at it in the marketplace, you'll see, in development, you'll see a lot of asterisks, but it works well for viewing your Qt notebooks and go through websites that get generated with Qt web page. So here, in this demonstration, I'm connected to Casper, and I've run Qt web page, and it's giving me all this output information. And so what I can do, because I have live preview installed, when I hover over this, it says open file in editor. So I'm going to click on that. Not much to see. What I can do is click over here with this keypad thing, the magnifying glass that says show preview. And this is magic to me. Networking is so weird. But what it does is it sets up a little web server, and from there, it displays eventually the contents of your. Please, my demos are so hard. There we go. Sure. Well, I guess by saying it works well. This is the first time I've had it, obviously. But usually it'll pull up the actual website and you can click all the links and expand sections and play GIFs and all that sort of stuff. As you can see, I had it work at least once. This is what it looks like when it's working. Where it looks like a standard web browser. Your back and forward buttons, reload. It's got a kind of crazy URL, but eventually you see, yeah, it's the output of the computer notebooks, and you can scroll and click around. Okay, well, you get the idea. Are there any questions about that part?
Another question, please. If you are making use of the modern Fortran, will you be able to work with different Fortran versions, maybe 7.7, 90?
I don't know. I've never tried that. Look here. Let's see. This is another neat trick. I don't know if this is a default shortcut or something I've added, but Command Shift O lets you just search for any file. So I'm going to look in CM terminology module. We're going to need portrait. Portrait. Language server maybe. I think probably there's a way you can set it up to say like only include Fortran 9G or only allow Fortran 2008 before, something like that. But I've never had to do that. Okay, so that was supposed to be like, but it did. Python. We all use it. I'm sure we all love it. It's VSCode is really, really well supported when it comes to Python. Fortran, you're kind of forking your own way. There's not VSCode official docs on it, but like Fortran or Python is really well supported. You've got syntax highlighting. You've got autocomplete, where you hit tab, you start typing import, and then you hit tab, it says import. And then you can say whatever module you want to input. There's support for formatting, so like making sure that no lines are longer than however, that you have a space after your comma, that sort of thing. Same as missing. You can run code from within Python. It's environmentally aware, so you can change comment environments or high end or whatever your flavor is there. You can do debugging. You can run Jupyter notebooks. And again, these are all links to official VSCode documentation about how to do all these things.
Does it force you to have a init file, like some heavy,
I think some features might require that. For instance, I'll go ahead and show that. Keep that as a slideshow. Right, so this is a module that I have in our CTSM code, so the line code CTSM. You can see, I click on this symbol, this is the name of the function, it highlights all the occurrences of it. And I can also, I'm holding down a command right now on my Mac, and I can click on that, and it jumps to the definition of that function, which is nice. You probably don't need an init file for that because it's defined in the same file, but say, util dot, or when we go to save for time slice, that's in a different file. And so basically, if Python needs to be able to read the directory structure for giving modules and stuff, then you'll need it. But yeah, that's just a blank file, so it's not a big deal. You don't need to copy it. Like I said, you can also have AI integration. Copilot is installed by default, whether you like it or not. You can choose from the menu of LLMs. So down here, this is a sidebar on the right where you can chat. You can say, I want to use GPT-5 Mini or Gemini Flash or whatever. You can set it to edit mode or agent mode. Agent mode being where it'll do something and then check that it did it right, and check to see if it needs to do more stuff, keep going. Edit mode is just a one shot. It'll change things. You can also set it to view mode, where you say, I don't need to touch any files, I just want you to explain something to me. Just like if you were doing it in ChatGPT on the web or something. But you can say, look at this particular file or look at this particular code base and explain something to me. Again, in addition to explaining code, it can explain diagnosis, sometimes you can fix errors. You can add functionality if you want to, refactor code, add documentation. Some of these is more reliable than others, because I'm sure if you played with LLMs, I'm sure that's been your experience as well. I've included a link to, it's very funny, everyone tells us that LLMs are like so useful and really useful, but this is the only thing in the VSCode documentation where they're like, here are some ways you can use this, because it's, I guess, not always obvious. You can also bring your own language model key, so add a language key to OpenWrapper, and so I was able to add an OpenWrapper API key, so they don't have access to all the models that I paid for, right? And finally, I know a demo would be useful here, but I'm sort of going to show a couple of integrated demos of all these things working together. Integration with Git is also really useful here. I know that you all had a Git Practicum yesterday. Some of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with it. For others, what we're looking at here might seem like a nightmare. But generally I find that being able to visualize something can really, really help with understanding. So like how one branch relates to another and that kind of. So you can visualize the commit graph. You can look at file and line history. You can see git blame. There's a three-way merge editor, which helps you if you have merge conflicts and you know how to use it. The git lens extension is really useful. There's like a GitHub or git lens premium that I don't pay for. You get a lot of useful stuff just free, but you have to deal with it saying like upgrade now every once in a while. Okay, so 2 demos now. I've got my instructions here on my phone. All right. So we're going to look at, so this is that Python module that I was looking at before. This contains a bunch of useful things. I guess not a bunch, I've simplified it for the demo, but it contains 3 useful functions for this code base. And so this is another useful thing in VSCode. You can easily click that and say like, I want to jump to that function or jump back to this function. That can be nice. Here I have Pylint installed. So this is a very common linter, which just helps you sort of, it checks for errors, but it also checks for kind of like things that aren't the best practice, for instance. And so one thing it's highlighting here right now is you can see it's got this orange squiggle underlining YN. And I can hover over this and it says argument name YN does not conform to snake case naming style. Okay, and so what it wants is it doesn't like the capital letter there. But generally what I'm going to say is I'll just rename it to year underscore N, all lowercase. One way to do that would be, okay, you can copy Command F to find, and it puts it in there. You can say, I want to find all instances no matter what, or just if it's the entire word. I guess it's not that useful here, but you get why that might be useful. So like if I want to just search for DS where it's the whole name versus any part of the word, you can see there's like 5 times as many results if I don't restrict the whole word. You can say I want it to be case sensitive. You can also use regex, which is this whole other kettle of fish, super powerful, kind of complicated. I'll demonstrate this later. But instead of doing that command find and replace, I just want to change it for this function, let's say. And that would be difficult using find and replace. But there's a function called refactor. And you can access that from a few different ways. You can right click on it and say, I want to refactor. Sorry. What we're doing here is renaming symbol. And so I can say year underscore in. If I hit Command Enter, it'll just preview what it does. And sometimes it takes a second because it actually is, kind of running Python to make sure that it's just matching this instance of the symbol and not doing a find and replace across the entire code base. But here it says, okay, there are 3 places this is going to change, and here's what it's going to look like. And that all looks good, so I'll say apply. And then I'll do the same thing with Y1, and I'll do it a different way. I'll do it from the command palette, rename symbol year 1. And this time I didn't preview, so it just goes ahead and does it. That's nice. And then I save, excuse me. And Pylint is, depending on how much code you have, or Python you have, it can be pretty slow to update. But Pylint basically reruns every time you save the file, and now you can see that year in doesn't have the underline anymore, so it's fine. All right, so now what is it complaining about here? Missing function or method docstring. So a docstring is sort of a special kind of comment that explains what a module or a function or whatever does in Python. And having docstrings instead of just this kind of comment is nice because it makes it so that when you hover over something, you'll get useful information about what it does, what kind of variables it takes, that kind of thing. So the way I used to add docstrings was this extension. called auto docstring, which generates Python docstrings automatically. Okay, that sounds great, right? So what we're going to do is we just type 3 apostrophes, and then it offers the generated docstring for me. So I'll just hit enter. Oh, okay. Well, there's still a lot of work I need to do, right? Like I need to write the summary. I guess I can cut and paste that. But then it wants me to say what type is year 1, describe what it does. I should probably also be a little bit more detailed here. So that's still a lot of work. And why don't I just make a robot do this for me? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my cursor in here. I'll right click. I'll say open inline chat. Say please, because you're always supposed to say please. Please add a docstring to this function. And sometimes this takes more time, but thankfully this is a quick one. So it has added the docstring for me. You know, the result is always different with these models. There's an element of randomness to it, but I'm not going to take the time to look through this right now. But I've done this demonstration. You know, I've practiced this demonstration before, despite what you make, and it has always looked good. You know, there may be a couple things I want to add, a couple things I want to change, but you know, this is right. Year 1 is the first year, year N is the last year. This is the data set. It even explains if, you know, you're going to get an error if you don't have, if there's something wrong with the number of time steps you got out of it, or like you requested a year that doesn't exist, you get an error. It's the first time I've seen it add notes. That's pretty cool. That's pretty deep in the weeds, but you know, I think probably because I already had some comments, and so that helped it kind of understand what some of the code was for. But you don't have to do it for just one. Oh, and it'll say, do you want to accept it or not? And I'll say, actually, no, I didn't like that for whatever reason, so I'll just say close. It goes away. Another option is the little sparkly AI. It's got the AI sparkles on it, so you know it's AI. And you can say, so it's got the context of this file. So it's just going to be looking in this file, which is fine because all I want it to do is add docstrings, and it should be pretty self-contained here. So please add docstrings to all functions in this file. This is using GPT-5 mini, so this might be slower. So we don't have to sit through the whole thing, but you get the idea of what it would be like. It would add, okay, so it's explaining what it's going to do. Now it's actually doing it. Yeah, sometimes this takes a little while. You can go refill your water bottle or something, and then when you come back, you'll see it's added 3 different sections, each of which you can individually say accept or reject, pretty much, or you can continue the conversation with it. All right, so I'm just going to do accept that. All right, so let's keep scrolling. We got rid of, let's keep the docstring here. So that's going to resolve once Pylint reruns and it recognizes that the docstring is there. So let's just keep scrolling. Are there any other issues? Yeah. Okay, so this is just the line's too long. Fine. I'm not going to worry about that right now. There's also a red underline as opposed to this orange underline. It's a subtle difference, but red underline means it's not just, you know, line too long. It's this isn't Python code. Someone put this in. This is based on true events. Someone wrote code where it would just print a message and then say the word stop. And does anyone know what happens if the Python code hits this word stop? Oh yeah, that's a formatting thing. Yeah, the answer is it'll throw an error, which is what the person wanted to happen. It's just not. It's not really how you're supposed to do things in Python. So there's a way. There are many ways to fix this. One is ask the robot to do it. Sure. I like to exercise my brain with some regex every once in a while. So what I'm going to do, So I have this demo find replace. I have this fun piece of regex that I already wrote, so I don't have to try and do this live. And I'm going to say, okay, anywhere in the entire code base. You can see if I want to limit it, I could say only include it the Python/CTSM directory, right? And I could say don't include any markdown files. I only want to include Python files. I can say, all right, find the word stop. Okay, so there's a lot of it. It looks like it's only in this file where it's actually being used like this. But sometimes this is actually legit. This is just a variable name, and this will resolve to something. It's not a missing command like the rest of it. So we don't want to just find and replace on the whole, the name stop here. And so we can use this regex, where basically what this says is if there's a line that says print and then a line that just says stop, that's what I want you to search for. And so we're going to use regex mode. And so you can see, yeah, there's a lot of this. Of course, you can go through and just do this manually, but we can also fix this with regex. And so here I have defined some regex groups where I have these parentheses. And basically what that lets us do is say, all right, this group in my replacement, I want it to be there because it's the first group. And then this group, this is the print error message. And so I want it to be there. And so what I'm going to do is replace both lines, both the print and the stop, with a single line that raises a runtime error. And later I can go through and say, is runtime error really the best error to raise? But anyway, so now I will click that drop down and do a replace. And you can see it does a little preview in here. It's kind of hard to read, so you can also so you can say open an editor and it'll preview the diffs. Yes, it won't preview the diffs. There's something I'm missing here. Anyway, so you can preview it with that. And if you want to go ahead and replace everything, it'll ask you to confirm and it'll do it. And then we can look through and see, okay, yeah, runtime error, doing this instead. Over here on the side, this is an indication that a change has been made to these lines, but it hasn't been committed yet in Git, which is pretty nice. It highlights everything that we've changed so far. So I can easily scroll through and say like, okay, that's from when we changed year 1 and year in. Yeah, this is when we changed the stop error message to an actual error, sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and commit all these changes. I should have done 2 separate commits because we did the renaming and then we did the fix to the stop thing. But instead, I'll just do it here. And so I'll go to the source control pane, which is built in to VSCode by default. These are just submodules. I don't care about that. We only care about the changes in our actual code base. This demo find replace file is an untracked file because I just made it for the demo. That's fine, whatever. You can say, all right, I want to, stage the changes in crop cow module for commit. And I've clicked on this and it shows you the git diff. All right, so these are all new lines. These are all new lines. Here's our change with the print stop versus raise runtime error. Okay, everything looks good. Stage the changes. They rename variables and add docstring and use runtime error. As unsaved changes. I don't think that's right. Anyway, save all and commit changes just in case. Okay. So that was nice, but it's kind of disappeared on us, right? So I can open up the command palette and I'll say commit graph, and get lens, that third-party extension I mentioned that has a premium mode, but I don't pay for it. Show commit graph in editor. And so now you can see, this is just looking at the entire history of this this repo, where a while ago, I branched it off over here, branched it off from CTSM 5.1 dev 168, and then did some stuff. But I don't remember that stop being in there at CTSM 5.1 dev 168. So what exactly happened there? What I'm going to do is just undo everything we just did, just for the purposes of the demo. We're going to reset current branch to the previous commit hard. So this is just going to undo all the work we just did. Do it or what? Reset it. Yeah, okay. So it's back to that commit with stop and everything. Okay, so who did that? I can go onto the into the get lens extension. I'll say inspect. It shows me commit details. Sam Rabin evil. Oh my god, that freaking guy. Okay, we're gonna let the Avengers deal with this, repairing the veil between the evil universe and our own. But for now, I'm just gonna see if he did anything else while he was at it. And so I'll go back to the commit graph, and I can search and say author evil. What all did he do? Okay, so there's just 3 results, and we're seeing them all here. Yeah, so you did all the runtime errors. You just turn those into prints, and then you made them stop, and then you did something about the regex. Okay, anyway, it seems like that wasn't a problem. So I think we've actually fixed everything if we hadn't reset, that commit. That's good. So yeah, pretty powerful search. There's also an AI natural language search. Author is evil Sam. I don't know if that's going to work. Okay. Classic. Yeah, so just don't do that. Yeah, it's got documentation of how to search for things like that. Copilot is free. Yeah, it's installed, but you only have a certain number of tokens to use for free. And the models that come with it are free, and you can use any of those for your set number of tokens. So I get frustrated because very often it will just go in circles. It'll fix something and I say, okay, that's nice, but it doesn't handle this edge case. And then it fixes that, but introduces something else. And then it just goes in circles around like that. And so I ended up burning through all my tokens, and I turned this off for like 2 months. But then I got a code through work. So I'm going to try it again. And also try some more expensive models than just what Copilot gives you for free. See if that helps at all. Last thing is multi-cursor. This is, I kind of don't really have a good demo for it, but on a Mac, you can click and then, so that's your cursor. It's right there, right? But you can also command click and put cursors really anywhere you want. You can also select boxes like this, or like it deletes the entire box. Very useful. That's holding, at least on mine, Command or Option Shift, and it lets you do that drag. Okay. This is the end of demo 3. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Is the one out of the box, like, is it really gonna mess your stuff up, or do you have a favorite go-to?
I don't have a favorite. I think I was using Claude, the free Claude that it has, which I think is 3.5. That was a good mix of explaining what it's doing, but not while also doing useful things. But you would get stuck in this. I don't use this enough to really have any good recommendations. That's just an experience. Okay, so last thing I want to demonstrate is interactive Python. So I used to be a big MATLAB boy, and one thing that I really miss from the MATLAB integrated development environment is code cells, where you just put a double percent sign, and then that lets you run an entire cell, right? And you're used to that if you use Jupyter notebooks, those are code cells, right? But I don't like Jupyter notebooks for technical reasons, and so I wanted something that was more plain text. It was just a straight up Python file. And so there is an extension. No, it's Python. Well, anyway, there's some extension. If you do this and make a code cell and then you hit Command Enter and you don't have the right extension installed, it'll say, "Do you want to install this extension?" But what you do is you can do Command Enter on a Mac, or you can say Run Cell, and it'll open up a side pane where it runs. It opens up a Python environment, a Python kernel. So here it's using CTS and Pylab, which is my default. But I could change that. Say I clicked on it, select another kernel from all my Python environments. And so here it's seeing all of my COM environments that I have installed, as well as some sort of built-in from Homebrew. So I could change that if I wanted to. All right, so all the imports and everything worked fine. Let's go to this next one where it's going to import this data. That also worked fine. And now we'll actually make the figures. Okay, define PFT list is not defined. Or name define plist, you can read. So it is highlighting that the problem is on this line, right? It's calling define PFT list. This is your standard Python sort of trace back for Python 3.13. But there's this nice feature where there's a link on that line. So I can click on it and it takes me there. I say, why is okay, so now it's opened. This is actually a file in a completely different part of my computer. This is not in the same project, but it was still smart enough to figure that out. Why is define PFT list not defined? It should be. I could swear I wrote it. Oh, okay, there it is, and I've just misspelled it. So now I can do that. And I've rerun this cell, and so now it's working. So the cell is hash sign, the pound sign, so that's your standard Python comment, and then space, and then 2% signs. Right, so an alternative way of doing this, rather than clicking on that error it gave me, you can set up debugging. And so I have this debug file set up so that it just, whatever file my cursor is in, it's just going to run that in Python. You can get really fancy with it, but this is a basic one. And I'm just going to click the play sign there. It's running. Okay, module not found. That's because over here, I need to say, I'm going to say stop. You need to run it in this environment. So now CTS and Pylab is set, and I can go to run and debug again. Okay, so now it's going. Again, it hit the same problem. Here it actually took me directly to the code, or the problematic code. It hasn't thrown the error yet. And so that lets me say, go to the debug console, and this isn't actually a very useful debug console situation, but you can see it's saying, all right, we're in the IVT int to string function, and here's the value of its input. It's this 32-bit integer 15. I also could have said, what is IVT int? Or I could say print IVT int is. Right, so this debug console, you have access to the environment or the scope of where the error is happening. You can also click up in the call stack. And so now I have access to where that function got called, and I can see all of the variables that are currently defined there. So this is really useful for debugging. It doesn't work. I haven't figured out a way to make it work with Jupyter notebooks. So debugging your Cupid notebooks might be trickier. But if you're working with just plain Python files, this can be really nice. And the last thing is, I'll just demonstrate doing this in a Jupyter Notebook. So same deal. You can say what environment you want. Command Enter does the same thing. And then it's going to throw that error again. Fix it. Now it's working. So now you've got your IPython notebook, Jupyter Notebook. Okay. Guess I had more material than I thought. Any questions? Yeah.
What was the extension writing for Jupyter? Is it IPy or interactions?
The extension?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called like IPyNB. It's what it will prompt you to install if you try to run a cell that you don't have installed. I don't remember what it's called, and it's not showing up. So maybe it's built in ones.
So all these files that you're editing, these are all local files, right?
Yes, in this one, yeah.
Is it possible to edit a remote file?
Oh yeah, in that previous demo, this is all in Casper. Okay. Yes.
I see there's VI extensions, but do you think trying to use VI within VSCode is?
I tried it at one point, and it annoyed me more than it helped me, so I gave it up. But yeah, there are key bindings and extensions for if you just want to use like bin with VI style. I'm sure there's stuff for like Emacs and Nano stuff as well. You have your copy. Yeah.
You can run PyTest, right? And there's like this is button for testing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so launch.json, this is where I set up the Python debugger, where it just, when I say run Python debugger here, it just launches the current file and it runs it in the terminal. You can also say, if I wanted to add one here, where it would just run PyTest from a certain directory. You can also add any of your PyTest, like modifier arguments, like only include, a few tests or a few test markers. Yeah, you could also do that, and presumably it would have all the same nice debug functions where you could look at what variable is loaded. You could go through the stack, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Would we use like a Jupyter Notebook to access like a remote server or like a Pilot or remote server? Are we on the login node, or can we like request resources to point that Jupyter Notebook to like a compute node?
If they haven't told you, they're probably just going on to the login node, because the compute node setup process is more complicated. And just by default, when you SSH into Casper or Durango, it'll put you on a login node.
So we shouldn't be doing with like running our model.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a here we're in Casper. We're at the terminal. So there's this command called VSCode. And that you have to do a little bit of setup. But once you're set up, it'll say he wants 12 CPUs with 120 total megabytes. And then it submits this job. And so right now we're waiting for the job to start. But when it connects, it'll pop up a new VSCode window. I think it wants to say it is.
I ran it without any setup, and it will just prompt you for your project key and has some default. So I actually, yeah, able to do it first time.
Cool. Yeah, so then once you're in like this, then you can actually pull it on your computer. Yes, that's very nice of you, not rooting the login node. Good jobs. Any other questions? Any other
VS Code do this.
Right. Well, thanks a lot, Sam, for sharing that with us. So we now have a lunch break until 1 p.m. We will reconvene in this room for the last time today, and then go through some of the project options that we have laid out for you all before going to the library. I will add for the folks who are on the Crocodile team and visiting lecturers, we have a relaxed 90-minute lunch in the Chapman room. So look forward to seeing you all there.